Hopefully this all works correctly. Gonna find out here really fast. All right, well, that looks okay, I guess. Hello, hello, hello. Hello.
Hello, hello, hello.
All right. Audio is working. Amazing. Welcome in whoever just joined. Gonna get some things set up here first. Hey, Lava, what's up? Today, I have some Rosarita. Anyway, I bought this during a Lapidary Dave live sale for $10 whole. And I figured I would try cutting some of this stuff. Now, this piece, in and of itself, was 170 carats. And it was 123-ish by 25 by 6 millimeters in size. So let's get on with this and cut it down a little bit, because that's just way too big for this. Bet you're all excited to see my live again. Yes, I am just that popular, I guess. Looks like I'm a little bit off that line. Oh well. It was merely for speculative guiding. Could be worse. So let's go ahead and get on with this piece. I think I can wait to cut off the other part. Welcome in, everybody. Sorry I'm not watching chat just yet. I think I'll start with the 600 grit centered diamond burr on this. Now comes the obligatory, make sure you hit that like. Not sure what shape I want to do on this just yet. Hi, Kyle. Welcome in. Just working on a piece of Rosarita. This is my first time working with this material. And basically I am just trying to, let's get this focused. Okay, just taking off the rough edges. Maybe I should make this a more traditional shape just to practice that. Which means I have to vacate the facility here just for 1 second. Hi, Des. Welcome in. Hi, Fred. Got to make sure I got chat expanded here on the duplicate phone so I can make sure I see everyone. All right. Well, still looking at trying to get this live thing down. Such a noob. Let's see if I can balance that for you guys for just a minute. Nope. All right, I'll hurry back. I guess it helps to come prepared to a live, right? Now, I want to get my template here just to figure out what I want to do. Make sure I'm in focus. Also, I should have weighed this piece before I started. So let's do that right now. Off camera, of course. All right, it weighs 16 carats as is. And it is a massive, what is that, 23 by almost 11, 12. We'll call it 12. And it's still like 6 millimeters in thickness. So here comes the fun part. Let's find the appropriately sized oval shape. Looks like a 9/16 inch with a 30-degree ellipse. So done and done. I'd consider slicing off those extra bits just to have some more material for possibly doing resin or intarsia, but let's not do that today. And in fact, 600 grit seems to be a little slow. So let's go with the 325 grit just to get all those extra edges off. Randy, it's going all right. How are things with you? Hi, Beth. Welcome in. Hey, Techno. Everybody hit that like. Hi, Chris Lawn. Don't want to. Hi, Lori. I missed you at the top. Hi, Deborah. All right. I really don't want to be the obvious pimping out my channel, but somebody has to do it, right? So basically, this stuff is a slag glass from the gold smelting in Alaska. And they changed the process back in the 1970s, I believe. So everything that comes out from that process now is just a boring old colorless glass. Even 325 seems to be kind of slow. So when in doubt, scale up. I just didn't want to get out there with too heavy a grit. But, you know, we're always learning. Hey, Steven, how are you? Yeah, I expect shipping will be pretty heavy on this. Even though it does look like it's going to take a while to get anything going here. Oops. Of course, it's impossible to cut things when your bit is not properly seated. Usually hand tightness works for me, but I am pushing a little harder than for Opal. All right, well, it's having an effect. Hey, Ken, how are you? Yeah, I'm noticing that it is fairly tough. I expected it to be pretty much like Opal, but even Opal can vary in how quickly it will cut. So Kyle, you told me that, or you told chat, I forget who it was, maybe it was in World of Rockhounds, that you dropped this and it broke. Was it a very thick piece? Do you have concrete floors, perhaps? So Ken, I am cutting Rosarita, which I bought at Lapidary Dave's live sale. Yeah, I can't remember which one this was. It was quite a while back. And basically this stuff is pretty much just glass. And the higher quality material has more yellowish streaks, which is largely gold, I believe. I mean, if I crush this up and could smelt it down, there'd probably be a little gold in it, but not enough to matter. I like how the water's getting nice and red. Okay, yeah, a bigger cab definitely is probably going to be more fragile. I mean, I do have rugs underneath where I'm cutting. Definitely not a guarantee, though. Hello, Adele. How are you? Get some paper towel here. Get my fingers a little drier. Yeah, actually, foam garage pads is a good idea. I mean, this floor underneath the rugs I have is basically a faux wood panel, the flooring stuff anyway. I'm sure it's not ideal to drop things on. James, I'm working on Rosarita right now. I decided to pick something that would be fairly quick to shape and cut. I guess it's going fine so far. Normally I take a lot more time doing this just because I am not epically good at it yet. I mean, I can put out a pretty good cab, but it takes a while. Yeah, boot, you're right. Even a towel. In fact, for this Dremel, I have a 20-pound weight to kind of help secure it from sliding around on the floor. And if I drop this on that, that could be disastrous. And normally I do have a towel covering it, but I washed that towel earlier and didn't replace it. So we're living on the edge. Yeah, Cammy, this stuff is great. I mean, that's part of what attracted me to it is the red. And, you know, I know there's plenty other red color material out there, but I figured since this is really close to the same hardness as Opal, I should have a fairly easy time working with it. I hope the audio is pretty good. I actually got my DJI mic to connect and work this time. Thanks, Tammy. No, this is not carnelian. It's Adele. It's a slag glass that's produced or was produced through gold smelting in Alaska, but they changed the way they did it about 50 years ago. So this stuff is no longer produced like this. So eventually it will run out. But I guess there is like mountains of this stuff available still. So and apparently in the eastern part of the US there were, I want to call it lead smelting, but it might have been iron that produces a variant of this that's like blue-green. Not sure I would really want to be working with a lead smelted material personally. I mean, at the moment, I'm not wearing a mask, which I don't recommend, by the way. But nobody lives forever. Am I right? Okay. I think we're done with the 325, or actually the 170 here. Whoa. Calm down, wild man. All right. Come on out of there. Let's go back to the 325 for a little bit. Let's see if I can zoom in just a tiny bit more. Come on. Whoa. That was a little too much. All right. How does that look? Yeah, Ken, that's great to know. I do have some copper bearing material that I want to work. I've read some bad things about exposure to copper, and I really don't want that. So let's thin up the back here a little bit, try to even that out because this side is slightly thicker. I mean, it's not a huge amount. And when I start doming, well, actually, what side should I dome? What is currently the back side or the front side? I'm not sure it's really going to matter a whole lot. Yeah, Kyle, the thing about the mask is I don't really have one that's specifically dedicated, so I'm basically using like the N95 or equivalent, which is probably sufficient. And given the fact that I don't really cut a lot of rock yet, exposure probably is not as big a deal. So, Stephen, have you set out a time to pull your dice out yet, out of the mold, or you gonna go live for that? There I go again. So let's get this. The delay on my live is tremendous. So I have to stand up and look through the actual phone. So, I mean, shape-wise, it's getting there. But do I want to dome this side or this side? Or should I dome both sides? I don't know, man. That one's pretty nice. Yeah, I mean, this piece, as nice as it is, and it's pretty nice. I mean, the middle part's even better. I don't even think this is the best piece I have. Maybe it is. I have another square piece. I don't think it is as patterned as this. Double-sided, says Steven. Yeah. Cammy wants the back side. Yeah, I've been cutting since the end of 2021. And I started out using sandpaper and a knife honing block. And yeah, let me tell you, that's not fast at all. And I kept having an issue with cross-contamination, and that's no fun. But I'd ordered the bits from Suva Lapidary, and this is all Diamond Pacific material. I mean, I have the Nova burrs as well, but I couldn't wait. So I started cutting with sandpaper. And I guess if things really got bad where like there was no electricity, I could go back to that. But it is not fun. It's messy. It takes finesse. If you want to keep the skin on your fingers and knuckles, that is. Alright, I think I might be to the point where I can start working on a dome. Oh, Technojock says the backside. James wants both sides. Yeah, diamond disc would be nice. I watched Dr. Phil cut, and sadly he hasn't been live for quite a while. But he basically just uses a cutoff saw. I mean, his is larger than this one, but he's very effective with shaping. Hey Jeff, how's it going? Remember to hit that like when you come in, folks. Well, there's the beginning. Yeah. See, I'm still trying to work on keeping these girdles straight. I'll get there. I'll get there. Not to worry. 20 likes. Oh, that's pretty good. Wonder how many people actually watching, though. Ooh, Missouri. Hope the weather out there is good. It's fairly cool here today. Really, really windy most of the day. It's calming down a bit. I wish we'd get some rain, though. So if you're just joining me, we have Rosarita, which is a slag glass from the gold smelting process. And this is my first time working with it, so expect no miracles from me. Good to know, Stephen. I don't know how long I'm going to be doing this. It'd be nice to get a complete cab finished, but you never know. I may quit before then. not bad so far. So what do you think? Continue doing it single domed or go for broke and do a double-sided? I mean, you can't really lose with this stuff. It's not like you have to pick which side color's going to be on. This is more of a zoning issue. Still a bit of a pit right there, but that should come out as I move up the chain. Take a quick second here and dump the water out. I believe the red is actually just from the gold itself. I did also look up Rosarita and some of its properties and its history, and honestly, I kind of forgot. So, double-sided, James says. Double-sided, Steven says. Okay, well, I think we'll do that then. So I know a few of you here catch Sir Rocks a lot when he cuts live. If you have not seen his channel, check him out. He does some really good work. And Steven also has a channel, as does Jeff over at J&V. And quite a few of us here do some YouTube of some fashion. All right, that's not bad. My first live, I got lots of views. Of course, people come in and out on verticals quite a bit, so it is what it is. All right. Well, I definitely need to be working on getting even domes on both sides. And this is far from perfect. But, you know, normally I take a lot more time and I don't have an audience and I don't get all nervous. Here, see how nervous I am? Just kidding. Normally my hands don't shake nearly that much. All right, hold on 1 second. It is time to hydrate. Yeah, I don't expect gold to be red either, but that's the magic of chemistry. Science. Okay, this side is not quite as domed. And I'm not sure I'm going to care a whole lot for that, because shape-wise it looks fairly good. Come out of there for a second. It's going to be time to get some WD-40 out for this thing. A new collet might help. These things get wet and then they don't rust, but this collar sure rusts. All right, let's go back to the 600 now. Wish I could adjust the light on the camera. This is really not an optimal color. Hi, Patricia. Welcome in. Hi, Sir Roxalot. Thanks for joining us. And actually, it was the 9/16 30. So the cab is still, whoops, let's get it in focus. Okay. Cab is still bigger than the oval I drew, but that's not a terrible thing to have happen, since I wasn't really looking for any kind of standard shape other than just an oval. Now you can see there's still a pit on this face. Uh, Girdle seems to be okay for now. There's a couple areas in there that are a little wonky on the cut. There's the other side, and you can see that little divot there. But we still have several stages to go. And in fact, I think centereds, we're done with centereds. We don't need no stinking centereds anymore. How about we go with the 280 grit Nova Burr. That'll help get rid of all those ugly cutting marks. Thanks, Cammy. Hey, Chubby Hubby, welcome in. Remember to hit that like. You don't have to share the video. But if you do, I won't be mad. Now you can tell I've used this burr a lot, and I tend to favor the center of this burr. So trying to work on the ends to try to bring that down a bit. Of course, having that nice dip in the center kind of helps doming things, actually. But it's not a very efficient method when you're carving, because you do tend to waste a huge amount of the burr material. Not that I'm the best teacher for doing this. If you want to actually learn how to do opals and stuff properly with a Dremel, Roy's Rocks might be the channel for you. There probably are other opal and rock Dremel artists out there. But Roy does really good at explaining his process. And he definitely has much better opal than I do. Whoops. Time to check. You guys talking about food. It's almost time to eat. All right. Well, that's smoothing out pretty well. Yeah. I should actually be dopping this. I'm not sure I'll do that though. To dop or not to dop? Problem is, if I dop it, then I'll have to put it in the freezer to take it off the dop and switch sides. You can see that it's slightly uneven there on that girdle. I mean, it's not horrible. I've done definitely worse. But this pit kind of bothers me. How close can I get? Oh, that close, apparently. That goes in pretty deeply. I don't know. What do you think? Leave it? If I leave it, it's going to get cerium in it. Ugh. Decisions. I do like this side, though. I think we'll move up to the 600. This is just a test of this material, so it doesn't really need to be perfect. Well, hello there, Allison, Prairie Girl Rocks. Welcome in. Still a little bit flat on that part of the dome. Let's see if I can improve that with the 600. I do dop quite a bit, Sir Rox. I'm not sure if I understand exactly that question. Whoops. Well, what is up there, Phil? Welcome in. Still needs some work there, but starting to get kind of shiny. All right, Phil, this is Rosarita, and this is a slag glass from the gold smelting process circa 1970s. And I cut off this tip here. Oh, hey, looks like my son is on his way home. Good news, we have a limited time. No. All right, so it starts to look like a cherry cough drop. Looks like I still have a bit of a dip in that section, which is unfortunate. Yeah, that one's looking okay. But that is the glory of practicing. See, now I can't see what's going on in chat without taking my attention away here. So I'm not sure what Stephen is going on about. Oh, dropsies. I do appreciate everyone that's come in. I know you probably have lots of things to do on your own lives. Maybe not. I don't know. Best not to assume. Well, I can spend a little more time on this. No, I missed the test explosion. What happened with that? I did watch Starship's test flight. That's always kind of fun. Fireball. No lightning bolt, Steven? All right. At the risk of boring you all to tears, I'm going to check this out with the loop very quickly. Yes. I deemed this ready for the 1,000 grit stage. 1,200, sorry. There's no 1,000 grit. Come on. Are you drunk, Tog? $3 for a key resort. Where did you find it? Was it the last place you looked? All right, I've certainly cut worse. Yeah, D-Tim, this stuff is great. This is the first time that I've cut this stuff, and I do like it. And also welcome in D-Tim and Resorts. Anyone else I may have missed. I also have this big old slab to work with, and I have actually another square piece. I was gifted some by Ghost of Gaia, but somehow it never got to me. And that's a Lapidary Dave problem to solve. Certainly not mine. If this stuff comes up again, I might buy more. It's pretty nice. This is the 1200 grit Nova Burr. Yes, they are Diamond Pacific. I bought these, I can't remember who I was watching that recommended these, but if you're in the US, Suva Lapidary is the place to get them, or at least where I got them. And they honestly are quite good. They do last quite a while. Not sure it's worth trying to go with the 3000 for these. Yeah, I think Roy actually was the one that was using them, although I know he was having difficulty getting them shipped. And of course, going to Australia, they're going to be more expensive anyway. So he ended up having a company in China manufacture a set for him, and I wouldn't mind trying them out, but I have plenty of these, so I won't be needing burrs for probably a couple years at least. This may not be the perfect masterful gem that I wanted. I know I could probably work on getting a little higher dome on each side, but time's a wasting, and I'd like to wrap this up before I'm interrupted. So who wants to see me attempt to polish this? That'll be a hilarious sight, I bet. You think I should go to the 3000? Hi, Addie. How's it going? All right. It shouldn't take very long. Let's go ahead and slap that on there really fast. I mean, it's glass, so I go straight to cerium on opals. Usually, assuming I have all the little defects out. Got a wicked home there. Maybe a little too fast. I don't know if you could hear that hum, but that was the water catch basin contacting the tripod I use to secure the Dremel. Hey, Unlimited, how's it doing? Sorry, Unindicted. Welcome in. I'm not sure I have seen you. Well, I've only had one live, so yeah, I've probably never seen you in my lives. But yeah, definitely, considering I'm still quite novice at this, and this is extremely abbreviated for the amount of time I normally spend on something, because I stop often and look under not only a loop, but I'll usually take it in and look at it under the microscope, just because I like doing that. I don't think it really helps me at all, but most stones that I do take multiple hours in total. And that's because generally when I make a video, I like to see each stage of the process. So I end up taking a lot of video and photographs in between stages, at least until I get up to like the 1200. Things don't generally change in between the end of the 600 and the polishing stage, at least if I'm doing it right. Romania, this is Rosarita. This is a glass slag that results from the gold smelting process. They've changed the way they do that process, so nowadays you don't get anything nearly this colorful. I assume it's more of a grayish yellow slag. But this stuff is gorgeous. And this is even the lower quality pieces. If you research and look at some pictures online, there's some really nice material out there with gorgeous golden yellow swirls. And all of this material does still contain trace amounts of gold because the process wasn't as efficient as it is today. And that efficiency is, I guess, why the slag today has no real color in it, because they extract a lot more of the gold out. Don't listen to me, I'm not an expert. Maybe Mount Baker Mining might be the place to posit those questions. Him and Dan Hurd do a lot of smelting videos that are fun to watch. All right, let's check this. Yeah, it looks kind of similar to jasper, certainly, but it's softer. I think it probably works a lot faster. I mean, that's the 3000. I don't know how long you guys typically run 3000 on your gems. I probably should do a little bit more. Probably should have spent a little more time also on this 600. But, you know, time waits for no man. And I took this opportunity to go live because my son went to visit a friend, and I don't know if he's here. He's out cooking and playing music and stuff, and nothing against that, but I don't want to get a copyright strike, okay? Yeah, it does look kind of like a pill. I don't know if it's like red Tylenol, or maybe it's a suppository. Just kidding. I think that joke was for Steven. All right. You know, I can just go back and redo this, which is kind of a waste of time, but I want to at least show you how my polishing stage works. And this might be rather amusing for most of you, but it certainly is a lot easier with dopping, but expect me to drop this thing quite a bit. All right, come to get the hacked polishing setup going. Now, part of my goals here on this channel was to show people that it doesn't take a lot of money to get into this. Certainly you do need some expense. The Dremel, you don't really need a tripod. You could get a, gosh, what is, I'm drawing a blank here, a little brain fart, but like the Fortums, they have the little thing that you hook into the end, and it's like a wand, and you can hold that, but I don't like that. That's really not my style. Oh, hey, wait a minute. I seem to be missing the important bit. And honestly, for you guys to see this, I do need to switch this up. So pardon me while I move you all around. Check out my messy table. Check out your chat. Wow, an hour and 35 minutes. Shame on YouTube for letting me go about this long. All right, let's get that in there. Keep my ugly face out of the frame. Yeah, certainly there is zero shame in doing this on the cheap. If you're just getting started and you're not sure you want to do this for a long time, i.e. if you give up easily, then don't spend money on a lapidary machine. It's thousands and thousands of dollars, and I think I've gone on long enough that I would like to have one, but affording it and having a spot is a different story. I mean, I do have a spot, but getting a proper setup in the laundry room is more effort than I want to take. So, all right, here goes nothing. Normally, I prefer to dop these things when I polish, simply because they're slippery. And I drop them a lot like that when I hold on to them. So my local gem club, D-Tim, is in the city that's 45 minutes away. If there was a local gem club in this tiny town that I live in, I would certainly consider it, because then I could have access to a proper saw and not this tiny Dremel cutoff saw. And I would also have access to an arbor with wheels, which would be nice. Plus, the one in town also does rock hounding trips on claims that they hold, which would be fun. Don't get me wrong. But right now, with how much gas costs, I'm not sure I want to spend that kind of money. Yeah, cerium is pretty messy, but I think I might have a problem with cross-contamination of grits. So I'm wondering how you deal with that. Two and a half hours, wow. And I thought 45 minutes was a pain. You know, maybe if gas was as cheap as it was 5 months ago, I'd consider driving in a couple times a week, but not anymore. Hi, Rick. Welcome in. Oh, you've missed the bulk of this, I'm afraid. You came in time for the really fun part, though. Yeah, when I do Ethiopian opals, I have a problem getting them off DOPs when I'm using the super glue. And while I've attempted to do it with wax, it's not a good idea to heat up those stones. So I've done a few by hand, and yeah, I drop these things quite frequently if they're not dopped. How many drops? I would say probably a dozen at least, but I think it depends on the material. I'm lucky. This is a pretty large piece, honestly. I agree, James. This stuff is quite beautiful. And honestly, I might try to buy a lot more of it simply because opal is not cheap. Opal rough of any kind isn't really cheap anymore, and good opal rough is very expensive. And if you're not buying something that's pre-rubbed, it's even more of a gamble. So, hello. All right, well now I've gone and done it. When it falls back behind the shield, it's kind of a pain. But I got it out quickly. Let's take a look here. Ooh, it's getting there. You know, I've not really had an issue with this thing flying off and going out of the containment system that I have. And basically, this shield is just a cover for a 6-piece cheesecake container. But it works very effectively. And I actually just bought it so that, put it together like this so it would keep the cerium from spraying all over. It does a decent job of that. But it also does help keep the stone from flying off into infinity and beyond. Don't copyright me, Disney. Maybe I should start singing some Frozen songs. I bet you don't want to hear that, do you? Let it go. I was thinking more of a whole new world, a place where dawn just never sings. Whoops, hey. Alright, enough of that. Hopefully the grinding against this thing is covering up my pathetic attempt. Normally I set the towel up so that I don't have to hold on to this thing really. But to keep it from rubbing and rubbing and rubbing, I'm doing it this way. Yeah, well, Disney can suck it. They can send the Mandalorian after me. Copyright violation he has. All right, let's. Nice thing about holding these stones, though, you can feel them heat up. And without heat, cerium really just isn't worth a damn. But anyway, that's a few minutes. Normally, I would probably do this much, much longer. And in fact, maybe I'll put some more time on it, but just in that short amount of time. Focus. Come on, you can do it. All right, so there's a bit of pitting there. That kind of sucks. So I rushed it. I might go back, and I hate saying that, but I might go back as far as the 600 and try to get some more of that out on a dop stick, because I think I do better work with the dop stick. But overall, it's come a long way since that first little bit of slab. I mean, who knew, right? Well, anybody smart probably knew. Okay, this is still wet, so let's employ the trusty shirt. Hi, Lost Missionary. Thanks for coming in. Now, if I had more time, I'd consider doing a little more, like maybe another whole piece. Yeah, see this edge, you can kind of see it does need more work. That's where I like the dop stick, because I can hold it at the proper angle with the proper force and do a proper job. But, you know, I was on a live and I was hurrying things along. Yeah, that definitely needs some work there. And as it is, it would polish fine. But like I said, those pits really kind of annoy me. So perhaps I will do a little backtrack. Maybe not. We'll see. It helps to get all the cerium off too. Yeah, look at that. That's a gorgeous piece. Fairly good, I think, on the shape. The girdle is not perfect, but it's probably good enough to set. I'm certainly not the expert. Yeah, for basically an hour and 40-ish minutes, you can't complain. Well, you can complain, but I'm not going to listen. All right, so let's get the right. I mean, that's close. Nope. See, I think this was actually the one I used to draw the oval. So, it came out all right. Thickness looks fairly even. I'll have to take a closer look. But it is what it is for under 2 hours, right? So if you like this, hit the like, maybe share it, and subscribe, certainly, if you want to see more mediocre opal cutting and mediocre comedy. That's what I'm here for. I'm actually surprised there's not really a lot of cerium stuck in that pit. Very nice. All right, folks. Time to say goodbye. Thanks for sticking it out with me. And I'm pretty sure I will see everybody next time once I figure out how to stop this crazy thing. Oh, God, help me. How do I stop? Good night, everybody. I'll see you at the next live.